What up guys, welcome to another video. Today we are working on the 350 again and we have some K-Sport Control Pro street coilovers. I picked these up and also the Voodoo 13 rear toe arms. So I'll show you guys these first because they're easy to get to. You have your big clunky arm basically that you delete and put this little small guy in to reduce weight, and this is adjustable and it's just a much better, clean, stronger setup. Let's open up this box and see what these coilovers look like. All separated, check it out. Here are our tools that we need to adjust and things like that. Ooh. Looking at the coilover, you guys need to know right away to have this correct. Normally, most people, what they would do to get the ride height lower is compress the spring shorter. Shorter spring, lower ride height, right? No, that is not the case at all. I repeat, do not do that. The bottom right here, you twist this guy where it mounts on the bottom, and that is your ride height. And then you have one ring right here that you spin down, and that holds your ride height in place. And then you adjust your spring rate, like how compressed the spring is, with this guy right here. So this is kind of like your rebound and how stiff the spring can be. And you put this ring right here. So this is a lock ring right here in the middle, but this is the one where you adjust the spring. You want this just tight enough to where you can still move the spring around a little bit, like by hand. See, that's a little too tight. I'm gonna back off. I can move it around, right? That's how you want it. Snug it up a smidge, and then put your lock ring back to the bottom so it doesn't go anywhere. And now it's set up complete. So then let's say it's too high. Okay, let's back off this right here on the bottom, this locking one, and then we're gonna twist this up on the bottom. That's gonna make our ride height lower. So now what we're gonna do to get started is adjust the height of what we want. So we wanna lower the front about 1/2 inch and about 3 fingers in the back, so like 1.5 inches. So we're gonna measure from the bottom of this all the way to the top of this and make sure the back two are the same and the front two are the same identically. And then we'll lower the car and see how it looks in person and figure out if any are off, and then take them off and adjust it if needed. And then before we start, I want to show you where every bolt is and what size they are. So the biggest one at the bottom here, millimeter, and there's a nut on the other side that is a 17 millimeter as well. I'll have an open end wrench on, and then your brake lines and things like that. This is a 12.
So we removed the 4 strut bar bolts, and those are 14 millimeters. And then after that, you're gonna get this is a 12 millimeter, and you're gonna remove these 3 guys right here, and there's a little one hiding back there.
The middle one is just for the adjustment for the coilover itself, so don't touch that.
And then this is a 12 millimeter. That's the only one you had to pop this guy off too. Another little brake line.
There's a couple things you have to do to get the suspension to droop enough to get the stock strut out. So I'm gonna show you guys what you need to take out.
17 millimeter right here. About 1.5 inches lower in the front, so it's not going to be exactly because the compression rate is going to be different in the springs, but we're just measuring, setting up the unsprung setup 1.5 inches lower than the stock setup was.
So we line these up back here. Well, we're actually lining the top up a little bit lower, and then we need this to go out on the new coilover, so all Trevor is doing is spinning it until it's the same length as that. That'll give us an approximate estimate, and then we're going to make the other side the same for the front and then install them. This is the other front one. We're gonna make it the same while we have this one out. And we're gonna leave the lock rings all the way to the top. And then we're just gonna measure the distance on this guy right here. And then do the same on that one. No need to measure the whole thing.
And we'll get our lock ring for the ride height. Tighten that guy all the way. We're gonna use coilover wrenches on these once we have everything set.
Got back from Ace Hardware. I picked up some new nuts with the lip on it. You can see the original ones were kind of rusted and gross like the rest of the car, but we got some new ones. So we took the coilover literally with us in Ace Hardware and made sure we got the same ones. And now we'll have some fresh hardware in case we ever have to take these off for some reason. They're not going to strip out like these almost did.
So we got our first height set. Way easier.
Way easier.
So we'll do the tops first. Using the jack here to kind of line her in place. A little bit more. Where's that lined up? I can't see.
Installing this one, all the bolts are tight. To make sure that you have it in right, this spring should spin a little bit. I can spin it barely with one hand, but it should be pretty snug, but you should be able to spin it, so make sure that it's barely you can spin it and that this bottom one is tight so your ride height is on point. And then we're gonna do the other side and see how it looks and adjust it from there. The next day we tightened our bar across the top, all four of those tight. You can now see the orange new coilovers on top. And now we're moving on to the back. Trevor's breaking everything loose so we can show you guys where everything's at and what bolts to take off. Assembly, the first thing is we need to take out this bolt right here for the lower control arm. And then that's a 17 on both sides. There's a nut on the inner side. So make sure you do that. We have this one almost out because it was so rusted we had to work on it first. This is a 17 as well. There's no nut on this side, that's just a rubber thing. And then up here is two 12s to get that whole entire strut out. And then up here, you can see the top of the control arm is, I think, 18 on both sides, and there's a nut. So we're gonna take all those off. This car, there's a lot of rust, so I'm gonna PB blast all of these nuts and bolts, so when we put them back, they should go on a little smoother. On the control arm is the part that's up in there, and we use a jack right here to support it so it doesn't fall out. So now we replace this big old thing with this voodoo arm right here. We already measured the distance so it matches the other one, and we're gonna slide it right in and it fits just like this did with the same exact bolts. It's really easy. Mounting the two 12mm nuts on top with an extension. We started them by hand. This was the bolt for the coilover on the bottom. It's kind of rusted, we didn't really like it, didn't go on very smooth, so we went and bought a new one from Harbor Freight. We took our bolt to Harbor Freight, used their thing on the wall to make sure it's the same. We got the same exact bolt that we need, so I'm gonna go ahead and push this through. We have our washer, I'm gonna slide it on, get this started by hand. It's too much to see in there, so you guys get the point though once you're doing it. Lastly, I'm gonna take my coilover wrenches that it came with. I'm gonna tighten the bottom one for the ride height, and then use both of them against each other to tighten the spring to make sure it stays in place. Like when you have both of them on there, I can't show you doing it, but you gotta have both of them on there, pushing the one on the right this way and pushing the other one the opposite way. Careful, you can't. Oh gosh.
Well, we're reenacting the 202 bump. Okay.
It could go a little more.
Yeah, if you wanted to. I mean,
That's perfect.
Oh, I feel like so signals on the ground.
See how low the exhaust is.
No, I don't think we want to.
It's gonna be sketchy with the exhaust any lower probably. We are low. Oh my gosh. I'm worried about. Oh jeez. Come look at this, Trevor. Oh yeah, dude.
Way close?
The middle of it.
It's sketchy.
We just gotta be careful, dude.
First drive. Only thing we really gotta worry about is that exhaust scraping that we just put on. But we'll see how it feels. I'll update you guys in a few days in the same video about how it is. Listen for anything not tight. About 4 or 5 days later of driving the car, ride height's good, suspension feels good, feels so much tighter than the original lowering springs and stock suspension in a good way. The car is very responsive, especially in the front end. It's definitely a noticeable difference when you put coilovers on. This is the first set of coilovers I've ever owned, so I'm really pumped on how it feels. As far as the last dampening adjustment, K-Sport includes these guys right here, and what that is, all you gotta do is slide it in the top of the coilover, and it's measured by clicks. So I'm gonna go all the way to the left, which is soft. I'm gonna go all the way to the left, and this is a 36 click system. So I'm gonna run today at 18 right in the middle. So 1 click, 2 click, 3 click, 4 click, 5 click, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And then go over to the other side and do that side. For the sake of this video being so long, I'm not going to take off the rear on camera. Pull the wheel off, take the 3 bolts off on top, 1 on the bottom, pull the coilover out, slide your dampening tool on top, adjust it how you need it. I'm going to be running all 4 coilovers on 18 clicks, dead center in the middle. I'm going to be driving around, sliding around later at a spot, so I encourage you guys to subscribe to see that footage. It's going to be fun. But K-Sport coilovers, I'm impressed. Comes with the tools you need, the wrenches you need, the coilover wrenches. Everything is just super straightforward. It's got directions, and so if you guys want some reasonably priced coilovers, I encourage you guys to use the link below to order some K-Sports for your car, no matter if it's a Subaru, Nissan, whatever you got. Overall, I'm really pumped on it. It makes the car feel completely different. The front end, especially going around corners, is insane. And it makes your car lower so you can get that fitment that you want. So appreciate you guys watching the videos. I'll see you in the next one. Later.